you doing, guys? Tomato Sauce in here, and I just want to say good morning to everybody. If you're not watching this during the morning time, good afternoon and good evening, as the great Supatis would say. Today, I'm going to do a very thorough user interface guide for my settings. Right, so I've seen a lot of people request this, an add-on video and just a UI video in general from me. You know, a lot of people like my arena UI. I try to keep it very, very clean, very simple. I don't like redundancy. I'm a software engineer, so that's something that I truly dislike, is any type of redundancy in anything that I do. So I try to make this very simple. So what we will do is I'll go through my game settings. I'll show you a couple cool tricks in edit mode. And then I will take you through my add-ons as well, any special settings that come with those add-ons. And I'll give you some tips for key bindings as well. Because I think people, especially those that play a lot of alts, really have trouble going from alt to alt because they don't keybind in a certain way. I'm not going to tell you to like what buttons to keybind, but I am going to give you some interesting tips on key binding across characters that I think will help you out a lot, because WoW has become a lot more homogenized. I think some of you will know where I'm going with that. But without further ado, let's get into it. I think we should start out with our game options, right? So we'll go through our gameplay controls, just show you guys, you know, what I'm using from Blizzard's, you know, in-game gameplay controls. So you'll see from the control setting, I opt into sticky targeting, auto dismount in flight. It'll basically automatically dismount before casting while flying. This is all like open world stuff. Auto cancel away mode. So if I'm AFK and I come back, it'll automatically cancel that. I don't interact on left click. Open loot window at mouse. I kind of like that. Auto loot. I feel like, you know, in WoW, you kind of can't play the game without it. It's just nice to have, right? This is one that I meant to opt into, but I usually don't. But combine your bags into a single bag. It's basically, you know, some basic bagnon functionality. So let me show you what that looks like. Whoops. And now you get, you know, all of your items in one single bag, which is nice if you've ever played with like a bagnon add-on, right? So that gets rid of an add-on that I had not opted into yet, but I really like it and meant to do that for a while now. So everything else I keep pretty default except for camera following style. This one is pretty annoying. I don't know why it's never adjust camera. It's not never adjust camera by default, but you're going to want to come down here and never adjust your camera, because by default it's only while moving, and this will actually like give you motion sickness. I don't know how this could be the default option, but you want to never adjust camera, especially if you're in arena, because if you're moving around a pillar like this and then you take your hand off the mouse, it'll actually adjust your camera back and center it. It does not, it's not good. So yeah, never adjust your camera if you like your freedom. So let's go into our interface settings here. I don't display my own name because I'm not vain like that. But, you know, feel free to display your own name. NPC names, I just go hostile quests and interactive NPCs. Friendly players, minions, enemy players, minions. Now, nameplates, all right? I do always show my nameplates. I don't opt into the larger nameplates because you can see it does nothing for me because I use threat plates. But I do use enemy unit nameplates, minions, and minor. It gets a little hectic with the demonology warlock in the game, but I really like minor and minion on to deal with all of the, you know, all the totems and psi fiends and, you know, like little items in arena that you have to go after. And since I use threat plates with a profile that I will give a shout out to the creator when we get there, I can always very easily click on a totem nameplate, never getting stuck in a static field totem, instantly killing healing tides, you know, etc. Friendly player nameplates I don't play with. I do play with an add-on called Arena Markers, I believe it's called. So I will, as long as I'm the leader of the group, I'll always auto mark all of my teammates. I have seen people use the script that makes friendly player nameplates smaller than the enemy unit plates, which I do like. And maybe I'll go after that in the future. But for now, I do just use an auto marking add-on. Flash on aggro loss is PvE tanking stuff because I do enjoy tanking in PvE. And I use overlapping nameplates. I don't use stacking nameplates. I'll be honest, if the stacking nameplates did not like go off into outer space, which it seems like they enjoy doing. Little sip of coffee there while it's still hot. I would use them, but overlapping nameplates keeps things more concise. I don't have issues kicking mobs in dungeons or in arena. Yeah, so I keep overlapping nameplates. That's a personal preference. As are most things, right? We can skip the display. You know, this is just like if you want your tutorials, you really don't need this stuff on. But I do like this. I like the in-game navigation. I'm going to keep that on. Tutorials, I've been meaning to turn off. I've just been lazy. Chat bubbles, I do keep on, especially for PvE content. But I'm noticing in solo shuffles, some healers are macroing / yell into abilities as well. So I think it's nice to have your chat bubbles on. Very handy in PvE content, though. Raid frames, display incoming heals, display power bars. I really like, you know, keeping track of my healer's mana. I like the aggro highlight. Class colors is a must to me. I only display pets on my resto druid. I don't display pets for my friendly team anywhere else because there's really nothing I can do for these pets. So I only look at pets when I'm healing. Display main tank and assist. Show debuffs. And again, this display only dispellable debuffs is an option that I check on my restoration druid because I only want to see debuffs that I can dispel. Display health text, I prefer none because, you know, the nameplate itself is the health. So you can watch that. Action bars, I just use 2, 3, and 4. And I show numbers for cooldowns here as well. Combat, I am displaying target of target. So it toggles the display. All right. So now let us go back to target of target in combat. So you'll have this checked. This is a very, very helpful little item here. And let's see if we can find somebody targeting. So you can see, right? I'm targeting Beelzebub here. And what we are going to get with opting into target of target is we will see who his target is. So why is this helpful in arena? Because you will always get to know who the go target is if you are targeting a DPS, or if you have, you know, like somebody else focus targeted, you'll get to see who their targets are. I don't know if this actually works. Yeah, so it works for your focus as well. So you can keep track of, let's say you have a healer focus targeted, you know, and you're targeting a DPS, you can track who that healer is actively healing while, you know, dealing with your DPS target as well. So I like to play with target of target. I need to play with focus target more. But yeah, this is super, super helpful in arena. So let's go back into our options. I don't flash the screen at low health because hopefully my health is never low. I do keep loss of control alerts enabled. I have scrolling combat text for self because I like seeing like the sudden death message, you know, any number of random items that I get alerted to. And I, you know, some of it, sometimes it's a little busy, so you might not like it. If you don't like it, you can opt out of it. But I kind of like it. Mouse overcast, I don't do. I do have auto self cast enabled. Doesn't really do much on a warrior. and enable action targeting, which is something new for Dragonflight, a targeting system that dynamically targets enemies based on where you're looking, works alongside the standard targeting system. So it's really just like an enhanced targeting system for your tab targeting. I generally use Arena 123, but I like this for open world, where, you know, you're doing a lot of tab targeting. And then jumping into social, not much, right? I keep the mature language filter on there to decrease the toxicity. You know, I don't think any of this really matters. And then my key bindings are all personal preference, but I did say I would give you guys some key binding tips. So let's move into our key binding tips. I will ignore that for now. Let's clear our focus as well. So one thing that I can tell you guys about keybinds, right? Everyone's keybinds are going to be unique to themselves, right? Some of you guys are playing with an MMO mouse. Some of you are, you know, old school gamers that love your Logitech MX510 mouse. So, you know, you've got the standard amount of mouse buttons. That's me. That's self-describing myself, right? I've been playing, you know, games since professional Counter-Strike, where I was playing Cal Invite and CEVO Professional and going to LAN tournaments. I fell in love with the MX518 back then, and I pretty much never progressed past that. So I am still rocking 518s. They're more difficult to find now, but let's get into key bindings and what can help you with cross-character key binding issues, right? So my main tip here, because WoW is so homogenized today, right? Keep a set of keybinds for your offensive cooldowns. For me, I use Alt-1, Alt-2, and Alt-3 modifiers with, you know, the 1, 2, 3 keys. So Alt-1, Alt-2, Alt-3 for my big cooldowns for any class, right? So on Fury Warrior, I have my Recklessness macro that pops Avatar with it. Thunderous Roar and Odin's Fury on my Alt 1, 2, 3, right? If I was on my Sub Rogue, for example, I would have like my Shadow Dance there and Shadow Blades, etc., right? If I'm on my Boomkin, I have Incarn there, and Fury of Elune if I'm rocking that, right? So I think you see where I'm going. Any 1 minute, 2 minute, or 3 minute cooldowns, I try to keep on Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3. Now, let's say your main stun across any of your classes, right? I'm using Shift R for that, right? So my single target, non-targeted stun, I use Shift R for. My main Arena 1, 2, 3 macros, they always go on Shift 1, 2, 3, agnostic of characters, right? My defensives, they're going to go on Z, X, and C, right? If I have more defensives, like in Warrior, I'm running with Bitter immunity, I'll drop it, I'll slot it into the R key. If I have less defensives, right, like on Rogue, I'll use R and Shift R for both of my stuns. So I try to keep my characters very homogenized in how I keybind them, so that I can log on to any of my characters, right? If I'm playing my Resto Druid, I know that my main cooldowns, although they're not offensive, are going to be on Alt 1, Alt 2, and Alt 3, right? So I have Trank, I have Tree, I have NS on my Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3. I just know that any cooldown I have to trade is going to be on these buttons, right? And my defensives, like self-preservation defensives, are always ZXC. So my kick, right, for example, again, another one that's very consistent across all my characters, is always my mouse trigger, my mouse button 1, right? Then I use like mouse button 2 for spell reflex, or going in stealth on Druid, right? So, you know, this is just like a utility button for me. So I try to keep it very simple. Your main builders, right, always going to be my main keys, 1, 2, 3, and AoE ability always goes on Q. So I think those are the best tips I can give you guys for keybinds. My keybinds might not work for you, but try to create standardization across your characters. Because if you don't create standardization, you're going to find yourself you know, not being able to easily transfer your skill between alts, because you need to just have that muscle memory down. So making it as easy for you to transfer your skills between your alts by homogeneous key bindings of abilities that are consistent across classes will only help you out in getting better. So that was a little segue from the add-on section. There's some key binding tips littered in. And let me say, guys, if you are still with me in the video, before we jump into our add-ons, drop a like, drop a subscribe to the channel. There will be more content out here. You know, we'll even be jumping back into Wrath of the Lich King Warrior pretty soon. So stay tuned. There's more coming. Now, let's go into our add-ons, right? I'll go through what each one of these add-ons does, what I use it for, and how it pertains to either Arena or Mythic Plus. So we'll start with Diminish. Diminish is really cool because it's actually going to show the diminishing returns that you are encountering. So what is diminishing returns, right? So if myself or an Arena teammate gets kidney shot, right, that's going to start something called stun DR on your character. You're going to take a diminishing returns effect from any stun used against your character up to 3, and beyond the third crowd control ability of that type, you will then become immune. So it's very important to track your DRs across all of your different teammates. So the way I do it is I have it tracked. I actually have. Hang on one sec. Let me move this. Oh, this is party 4 and party 3. Okay. Yeah. So let's toggle test mode again. Yeah, I have those over there because they don't really matter to me. You can see I track my own DRs above my nameplate, and then I track party 2 and party 3, or excuse me, party 1 and party 2, you know, close to home, essentially. So where I have their unit frames, and if you see this in edit mode, you'll see, it doesn't come up ahead, but you can see how I keep my Arena frames and even my Mythic Plus frames close to my my focus macro. I'll track their diminish here. I have a little bit of overlap with a focus target. That's not the biggest deal in the world. You could even move their DRs into the frame themselves, and then you have no overlap really. A little bit because they're set to grow right. So let's fix that. We go back into our options, diminish options, nameplates, or excuse me, party. We have these enabled, and if we grow them left, now we will no longer clip into our focus macros. So the reflex has been throwing some errors. I'm going to have to fix that in a little bit. So that is Diminish, right? Diminish is very good for tracking your DRs in Arena. Handy notes, just used for maps. Let's turn reflex off for a little bit because this is a very old add-on that you have to kind of ghetto-ly update directly, and I haven't updated it in a while, so it's going to throw some errors. Reflex just tracks your Arena games anyway. It's not the greatest. This is all Handy Notes is doing. It's just giving you notes on additional notes on your map for like elites and treasure and whatnot once you're in the zone. You know, I kind of like it. It makes the map a little busier. But like you can find mounts and stuff, which kind of cool. I like collecting mounts. We'll go back into our add-ons. That's Handy Notes. IP Mythic Timer is just a Mythic Plus timer that replaces the basic in-game one. I like this one a lot more than the in-game one. Jack's Party Cast Bars, back to Arena tips. These are cast bars attached to your party frames, so you can see when your healer's casting and whatnot. I like these. I keep them. I keep it. You know, the guy Jax has a lot of good Arena add-ons, but I really only use Jack's Party Cast Bars right now. You see Leatrix Plus. This I'm really only using now to auto sell. There used to be a lot more that functionality that you would leverage within Leatrix Plus, but this is now associated with the base UI edit mode, and we'll dive into that after add-ons. Omnibar, you can see, we'll just test. This is going to drop my, you know, the team you're playing against. Their arena cooldowns are going to show up here under. I like them right under my character, so I can easily track kidney shots, Hodges, you know, any ability that I'm tracking from the other team. And I just use a standard profile with a couple extra buffs and debuffs added. We'll go into Omni CD. Omni CD is just, you know, your cooldowns. It's a little bit nicer than the base Blizzard UI. Raider IO. This is, you know, Mythic Plus add-on. And then we'll go into threat plates. Threat plates is pretty awesome. And I will say the best nameplate profile for threat plates. I use Bajira's. You know, I love his threat plates profile. So you can see this is what it looks like. I actually don't edit Bajira's profile at all. I really like his profile and how it shows the different you know, just different abilities there. Like, so, you know, you're tracking your bleeds and all that, tracking your slaughterhouse stacks on the target, etc. Right? So very nice, very friendly, very easy to manage, especially with stacking nameplates, or overlapping nameplates rather. So that is what I use threat plates for. Bajira's you can find directly on his he's got a YouTube video that is specifically about threat plates. So I don't want to kind of jock his style since I'm literally just wearing his hat there. So you can look up Bajira's threat plates video for any threat plates questions and questions on this profile. Then I use battleground enemies, which I'll just show a test mode on this. And it doesn't actually work on test mode anymore, but it replaces your raid frames with battleground enemies frames. So it's just a nice add-on that'll kind of show you who you're up against. You know, all their classes. You can click them; it'll target them. You know, in battlegrounds. Then I also use Leatrix maps because you see more, so you can actually see like unexplored area with Leatrix maps. S Arena, I use the Blizz Arena frames, and it's pretty standard. I don't think I've changed much. I think I might have made the cast bars bigger. Outside of that, it's pretty standard. I really like the way this looks. It's very clean. My team will be right here. You know, and I'll have all the DRs here, plus the DRs over there. And it's never this crowded on the screen because, you know, obviously there's not 9 DRs ticking on a character, 2 trinket timers, and all 3 are casting at the same time ever. So yeah, not that busy. Back to our add-ons, and then World Quest Tracker. I use this to track world quests. So that's it. Those are the add-ons there. Now let's go into S Arena, and you can just pull up in there with /S Arena and untoggle the test mode. So it's just hiding it. So now let's go into edit mode. I want to give a few tips in here. Now there's pieces of edit mode that you used to have to use Leatrix for, right? Specifically like your debuff size, really any sizing, right? You used to have to use Leatrix for any of your sizing of icons throughout. You'll see here in my debuff frame, I've actually moved my buffs and my debuffs over to the left a little bit to try to center them in my screen a little bit more. My buffs, I keep the default size of 100%. Debuffs, however, I do bump them up to 120%. Now, one thing that another tip that I've also, I was banging my head against for a while there, is actually moving the dragon flying, let me get out of this for a second, the dragon flying vigor bar. I didn't think you could move this for the longest, but turns out it's actually just the encounter bar. Yeah, so if you want to move the dragon flying vigor, it is the encounter bar. It was very annoying to figure this out. I had these stupid glyphs in my buttons, you know, in the default position for the longest time, and I could not target them. I didn't know what it was, but it is the encounter bar. So I hope that saves you a little bit of headache if your dragon riding glyphs are still clipping inside of your buttons. What else? Any other tips here? I mean, you can move anything, right? So like if you don't like your tooltip in a certain location, you can move your tooltip just by selecting it and move it around. Sometimes I have it down here. I've moved it back to a more default location because I really can't find a great place for my tooltip. But, you know, it is what it is. I keep it over here. What else? Any other tips here? I mean, just really, if you've ever used Leatrix in the past, just know you can move this stuff around. You know, your Q status button, you can actually move around with SUI. I keep it more on the map default location. I don't like it down where they have it by default. I like it on the map because I've been playing this game for a long time, and some change is not good to me, right? So I keep it on the map. I have this Mado Arena profile. I'll share the loadout in the. Sorry, I'm getting so many so many issues right now. Flash reload that. I usually don't get any issues, but of course when I make the video, we're getting issues. So let's go back into edit mode, and I'll share my arena profile with you guys. SUI is the add-on that is making everything a little bit darker and a little bit cleaner. So I'll show you what it looks like with and without it. The downside of SUI is that you do get a few more like reload style errors, you know, that you have to solve for. But I like it better than the default. The default is very, it's just not like bold enough for me. It just, you know, I don't like the way the default frames look. If they built in like a dark mode by default, like SUI or Lordy UI, I think that would be a cool toggle. But yeah, this is the default Blizzard UI. And then we go back to SUI. Keep reflex off until I update that guy. Go back into SUI, you can see it changes the view up, changes the base font a little bit. I just like it more. And then I also use an add-on that you can't see in game called Nice Damage Reloaded. And that's where my damage numbers come from. That font, if you like this font, it's Nice Damage. Yeah, you can download that off of, you know, CurseForge or WoW UI or wowup.io, either one of those add-on manager tools. Yeah, so that's the video, boys. I'll drop my Blizzard profile, Mado Arena, in the comments of this video. I hope I have helped you in some way throughout this UI and add-on video. You know, if an add-on's throwing too many errors, sometimes you just got to turn it off until you have time to update it again as well. But have a good day, have a good week, have a good month, and have a great year. Beta saucing out, add-ons and UI video in, I guess, right? So take it easy, guys.